Alrighty, so today I'm doing an infusion pump, IV infusion pump. I first will verify the provider's technical difficulties. I'm first going to verify the provider's orders, and then I'm going to gather my supplies. Then I'm going to enter the room. I'm going to pull the curtain to provide for patient privacy and introduce myself to the family and the patient. And now I'm going to perform hand hygiene. I'm going to identify the patient using 2 patient identifiers and compare that info with the medical record and the information on the patient's bracelet, as well as having them verbally identify themselves to me. I have a pen and paper here. I'm going to calculate the flow rate that I'm going to have my infusion. I have 300 milliliters to be infused over 6 hours, so 300 over 6 hours is going to give me a 50 milliliter per hour infusion rate. So now I'm going to grab my tubing. Alrighty, I got my tubing here. And I'm going to make sure that the bag is clamped. And I'm going to take the spiked end of my tubing and puncture the IV bag. Okay, and then I'm going to hang that. And that's totally magic IV pump. Okay, and then I'm going to prime the tubing by squeezing the drip chamber until it's 2/3 full to allow the air to flow out. And then I'm going to open the drip regulator and put my tubing into a trash receptacle to get out some of that fluid, to allow the tube to fill with fluid. And I'm going to close that back up. Now I'm going to prepare the patient's extension. So the first thing I'm going to do is uncap the saline flesh. I got it right here. Sorry, I have to find it. And then uncap that. And then get you a little more in frame there. Oh my gosh. Alright, now I'm gonna, so I have the uncapped, sorry, I was adjusting the camera. So now I have the uncapped saline flesh, and I'm gonna uncap the patient's extension. I'm gonna cleanse the connection point with an alcohol swab. Beep, 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 allow that to dry. And then I'm gonna flush the saline lock with 2 to 3 milliliters of saline. I'm gonna be careful not to have touched the connection point. Boop, boop, boop. Time flies. And then I'm going to disconnect the saline flush from my extension. Again, not touching the connection points. Now I'm going to insert the end of my tubing into the connector. Okay. And now I'm going to check the tubing for any air bubbles. Alright, seems to be air bubble free. And at this moment, if I were using an infusion pump, I would insert this tubing into the chamber of the control mechanism on the pump according to the manufacturer instructions. I'd close the door to the control chamber and connect the tubing to the patient's IV. I would press power, I would turn it on, set it to the required volume, so 50 milliliters for this case, and then I would hit start. So imagine that going on right now. And then moving forward, I'm going to open the drip regulator completely. And then I'm going to label the tubing with the time, date, and initials according to the policy of the location. So time, date, and initials. Label that. And then I'm going to label the IV bag with the type of fluid inside the bag, additives, and the patient's name, date, and the start time. The contents of the IV bag is already labeled, so I'm going to add the name, date, and start time. Got that there. And then I'm going to tell the patient what the alarm on the IV pump means, meaning that there could be a kink in the tubing, there's air bubbles, or there's some problem going on with the infusion, and I'm going to tell them to contact me so that I can help them out. And then I'm also going to tell them to avoid raising their arm because that could affect the flow rate. And I'm going to ask them not to touch the control clamp. I'm going to help the patient into a comfortable position and place their personal items and toiletries within reach. I'm going to give them a call bell and tell them and explain how to use it. Make sure they understand that. Raise their side rails up ×2 and lower the bed to the lowest position. I'm going to dispose of all of my supplies, leaving the room tidy. I'm going to perform hand hygiene. I'm going to then monitor the infusion rate and the assessed IV site for complications such as phlebitis and the patency each hour and when the alarm sounds. I'm going to document the IV fluid solution, hourly volume rate, and the IV site appearance.